missed you all. I was traveling. Chris and I were in France, and it was really wonderful. We had a wonderful time. And it's really good to be back. It's really good to just be home. We could have stayed another week, if I'm totally honest. But it is really good to be home, especially here. I wanted to talk to you today about freedom. Being free. What does that mean? Out of the darkness and into the sun. So that we can break away. I found this beautiful quote from Myrtle, which I loved. I thought, how perfect is this? We as a nation have declared our independence, yet as a people we are abject slaves. To what? Ask anybody and see if they are not wanting freedom from something. Anybody in here relate to that? Something you're wishing that you could break free from? So while Chris and I were in France, we missed the 4th of July. We celebrated it driving through the French countryside singing the score of Hamilton. That's exactly what we did. And there's so much about our country that is anchored in this idea of freedom. That it is inherently, literally built into the Founding Fathers' idea, and not freedom in the small understanding of freedom, but freedom as in the divine idea of what freedom is. That divine idea of freedom. And we don't have a monopoly on that, because while we were in France, they're celebrating Bastille Day. And actually, we wouldn't have had our freedom in our American Revolution if it hadn't been for the support of the French understanding of the idea of freedom. If they hadn't joined with us to anchor that possibility. And that revolution that happened here was a revolution that was about what does it mean to actually be free? To self-determine. Not to have some power outside of you across the ocean, up in heaven, deciding what it is that we get to be and do and live as. This idea of freedom is about the idea, it's all unity. It's the idea that we are the thing itself, that we are the living embodiment of the freedom that is our birthright. We're all living into our freedom. Whether we do it consciously or not, we are all accessing it and using it and living into it on a day-to-day basis. So while we were in France, we received a letter from the United States government. Talk about celebrating freedom. My wife passed her citizenship test. And on Wednesday, in a beautiful ceremony, she became a U.S. citizen. And as we were there, the speaker who opened it was really wonderful. And he was asking everyone, what is it that you're going to take from who you were? From that understanding of who you were before you were an American citizen. What are you going to take from that to bring into the now, to bring here, to bless us all with here in the United States? And now we know in Unity that it's not just this country that's blessed by our expressing our authentic self. We know that it is everything because there's only one mind, there's only one heart. So it's not just the United States that gets blessed with it. But I was struck by this idea of choice. There were 1,152 people on that one Wednesday morning from 90 different countries choosing to become an American citizen. And that happens every other week, just in Oakland. Choice. So in the same way that we into our freedom whether we're conscious of it or not, there are citizens who aren't consciously citizens. And there are citizens who are consciously citizens because they are choosing to be so. Now, this is an inherent piece that is so built into our understanding of who we are here in Unity. So what I want to invite us into today is what I'm calling a revolution in consciousness. The same way we had to overturn an old understanding back in the 1770s and earlier and later, because it doesn't stop. The revolution keeps going. The revolution is a continual process of expansion and growth. So how are you engaging with your own revolution in consciousness? And it begins with choice. It begins with choosing. And then where are you choosing from? Are you choosing from what was comfortable and familiar? Or are you choosing from the divine idea? The divine idea of what's possible in your life. So I found this picture because so many of us are choosing from the past. We have these experiences that have shaped us, that have formed us. And because we've had those experiences, we are allowing them to define who and what we are as we move forward into our present and into our future. And what we are creating oftentimes is a self-fulfilling prophecy. We are perpetuating the same understanding. And then we look around and we go, but see, it's true. It's true, because it happened again. So it must be true. And then there are those of us who are so focused on the future, right? We're so focused out there. The thing that's going to happen out there. It's coming to me. It's always off in the distance. And it's never actually here yet. And that creates anxiety and worry and doubt because we don't know how it's going to show up. And in that present moment awareness, there's lots of ways to even be in present moment awareness. We can be there in the beingness of it, but we can also be there in the hedonistic sense of the present moment, of not actually engaging with our highest self in the present moment experience. So the goal is obviously that we are dancing with all of these. We're dancing with our past because our past is part of who we are. We are dancing with our present because it is informing. The present is actually the only thing that we actually are engaged with in any moment, where real change and transformation can happen. And then we have the future. We have the thing, the vision, the dream that is calling us, moving us, asking us to grow. These are all the ways that we limit ourselves. Can you feel that? And that's what we do. I mean, we talk about this when we are demonstrating something, when we are claiming something. We're really big on that in Unity if you haven't figured that out yet. We are limiting what we are choosing. We are saying yes to this, which also means that we are saying no to everything else. So we are always limiting ourselves. The question is, how do we keep this process of saying yes and limiting ourselves, and then at the same time opening ourselves up to something new? Because all too often what happens is we get stuck. We actually have these ruts that we build into our life. And the car, we keep running those ruts, we keep running the same path, we keep walking the same walk. And then there comes a point where we just don't have the freedom to move, to change, to shift. Can you imagine that car trying to veer in another direction? It would be a Herculean effort. Anyone in here relate to that? Yeah. When you're trying to change and transform, that it sometimes can feel like this Herculean process. as we try to shift into something new. And there's also a more subtle way that it shows up for us. I love this image. Because it looks like there's space there. It looks like there's freedom there. And there is to a degree. And yet, it's the same thing right there. Same thing over and over and over again. So there's the intenseness of feeling stuck, the pain, the frustration, the anger, the loss, the suffering of that. And then there's the numbing. The numbingness of the sameness of the choices that we're making. And they serve us, but are they really serving us? So I want to talk to you about the free throw. You guys have basketball fans in here?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So I want to talk to you about the free throw, right? It's a gift in basketball. Somebody whacks you, and you get to stand not too far from the basket, and you get to just take a shot. Nobody's in your way. Nobody's interfering. There's nothing that is preventing you from being able to actually get that ball in the hoop and score points, which is the point of the game. Does this guy ring any bells to anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain. One of the all-time greatest basketball players ever. He holds records today that nobody has touched. And one of his most amazing records is from 1962. The man scored 100 points in one game.
Wow.
100 points in one game. Nobody has touched this. And part of how he did it was by setting a second record in the same game for the most free throws made. He made 28 out of the 32 shots that he tried for. Right? Yeah, they fouled him a lot, right? He's kind of big. It's like, how do you avoid him when you're on the basketball court, right? So he made 28 out of 32 free. And if you look at that number, that means most of his 100 points came from what? Free throws. That's where most of that record making came from. Now, if you're a professional basketball player, what is your job? Make as many points as possible, right? That's your job. And he did it beautifully on that game. And he did his free throw shots by doing a specific technique called the granny shot. Because it's how your granny would make the shot, right? It's like this, and it's the underhanded free throw. So when Wilt uses overhand free throws, which is what most of you are used to seeing, yes? 40 to 50% of the time you're going to score a point. And this is across the board. This is just all basketball players. 40 to 50% of the time, if they're doing an overhand free throw shot, they're going to hit the basket 40 to 50% of the, less than half the time. With the granny shot, they hit that basket 87.5% of the time. It's a huge difference, isn't it? Massive. And as I said, he made 2 world records in one day using that technique. So what do you think happens? Do you think he continues to use that technique? Yeah, no, he doesn't. Because it's dorky. Because how can you be a super cool multi-million-dollar basketball player doing the granny shot? So even though it has been statistically proven over and over and over and over and over again that you will score more baskets doing the granny shot, there was only one professional basketball player who used it all the time, Rick Barry. And he made his free throws 90% of the time. Free score! It's a free score! So I don't know what was going through Wilt's head, right? I mean, he's a superstar, right? I'm thinking it was probably something like this, though. I'm thinking it was something along the lines of he had something that worked. He had something that was getting him where he needed to be. But it wasn't accessing everything that he was capable of. Could you imagine what his scoring would have been like if he had continued using the granny shot? the records that he would have broken would have been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. This is not your greatest expression. This is comfortable. This may be working for you. But this is not your greatest expression. And sometimes it's really hard to see. I got lucky because we went away for vacation, and I came back from vacation and I could see, I could feel, after being literally free, really being free of everything that sort of encumbered me, from emails to phone calls to everything, even taking my supplements. I was free of it all. When I came back, I could feel things starting to kind of lock me in. And it's not a comfortable feeling at all. And that's the gift of that feeling, though. Because the places where we feel uncomfortable, the places where we feel like we're squirming, those are the places that are guiding us to let go and to shift and to change, to move into something new. So my question, one of my questions today is, what is your Grammy shot? What's the easy thing? The easy thing that you're not doing in your life right now, that you already know you're perfectly capable of doing, that you already know that you have the skills and everything available and accessible to you in order to sort of live more fully into your greatness. And yet, for whatever reason, you are not accessing it. What is your Grammy shot? What comes to mind is, I'm not throwing away my shot. I'm not throwing away my shot, right? Don't throw away your shot. It's a free shot. You have something that you were given that you already know what it is, right? You're all looking at me and you're all nodding. You know that there's that thing that you already know. You don't even have to reach that hard for it. And yet, I used this quote in my last talk last month, and I love it so much. I'm probably going to keep using it every time I speak, right? Your heart can never have what it longs for when it is full of what you have settled for.
Amen.
Amen.
Your heart can never have what it longs for when it is full of what you have settled for. Even if what you have settled for is as awesome as the track record that Will Chamberlain had when he was playing basketball, there is some aspect of his talents, his gifts, his abilities that was never fully realized. Never given the opportunity to actually show up in time and in space. I need you to show up fully. This world needs you to show up fully. To show up in that scary place. In that place where, rather than living your life like this, literally binding yourself, slowing yourself, that you want to live like this. I love this image. Isn't this a great image? I'm that fish.
You're going to fall in the same sea.
We have no idea where that fish is going to land, do we? Isn't that awesome? Right? But he's going for it. He is so going for it. Or she. And in order for us to step out in that way, in order for us to be willing to leave behind what Charles and Myrtle Fillmore would call the human race goldfish consciousness, right? What everyone else is thinking and feeling and believing, the norm that we all accept and we appreciate, and we say, oh, I don't want to make any waves. I don't want to disrupt things. We need to be the fish that is willing to say, I'm just going to leap. I'm just going to break away. I'm going to try something new. And what's the one thing that stops us all from doing that? Fear. Right? We just get afraid. And fear is normal. Fear is a part of who we are. We don't have to deny it. But the idea behind unity teachings is that fear is not in the driver's seat. Spirit is in the driver's seat, not fear. Fear is something that we get to listen to and be receptive to because it has wisdom, but it's not driving our life. It's a participant in the process of our life. So what's the flip side of fear?
Faith.
Danielle's like, I know this, I took her class. Danielle's like, I'm a good student. So the flip side of fear is faith. Because when we're walking in faith, when we are anchored in the absolute, when we are so clear about what is really here, right now, when we are not paying attention to what is right in front of our face, the experience in all of its emotional and psychological intensity, but when we are allowing ourselves to pan back and get the God perspective, we're able to see the larger picture of what is operating as our life. And in unity, we know that that larger picture is always good. It's grace, it's beauty, it's creativity, it's possibility, it's love, it's joy, it's harmony. It is that field of infinite possibilities. So that is what we're invited to do over and over and over and over and over. Because every time we make a choice to be free in the Spirit, to be free and anchoring ourselves in that infinite field of possibility, we immediately are being invited to, guess what? Choose it again, and again, and again, over and over and over and over, and we call this a spiritual practice. Because we keep practicing again and again and again and again. The divine idea of your life is seeking to express itself through you, to you, for you, as you always. You are not the exception. There are no exception. It is there, available, accessible to each of us. Ernest Holmes said, principle is not bound by precedent. Divine idea of your life is not bound by what has happened in the past. So I say, your past is not your precedent. Just because it is what had happened to you, just because it is something that you have experienced, does not mean that it is going, has to, definitely will continue to show up as your life. We trust that when it comes to our blessings. We know that our blessings are changeable and mutable, but when it comes to the things that we consider the things that have weighed us down, oh no, we are absolutely sure that that's going to come right back around. None of that is bound by anything. Principle is the backbone of all of it. So when we anchor ourselves in principle, we can release ourselves from our past. We can release ourselves from the fear that we have of what the future is. And we actually can cultivate present moment awareness. Charles Fillmore said, the larger our vision of life is, the more freedom we feel. The larger our vision is, the more freedom we will feel. And so we have practices that are going to support this revolution in consciousness. So what are they? What's going to support you to anchor that idea that the absolute realm is more real than anything that you're experiencing in time and space?
Affirmative prayer.
Affirmative prayer, right? That is an anchor here in unity, our affirmative prayer process. It is the thing that will unlock within you, because it's personal. It's your understanding of that affirmative prayer. What else? Meditation. That's the place where we just get still. And we can let it go. We can surrender our ideas up. You know those ideas that rattle around in your head. You can just surrender those up and allow something else to emerge. What else we got?
Feet on the ground.
Feet on the ground. I like that. How does that show up? Feet on the ground.
That's what Myrtle calls for practice, being in the world and practice.
Ah, being in the world and practicing. I love that, right? So maybe that shows up as sacred service, right? Maybe that shows up as taking a class. But that we actually show up in connection with each other. Just look around each other. Look around at each other for a moment. Everyone in here is rooting for you. Everyone in here is rooting for you. How does that feel?
Yeah.
To know that, right? So we have prayer. I just kicked some up here. Classes. I think we got them all. Sacred service. Oh. Money energy, and everybody goes. So we've been practicing a year of prosperity here at Unity San Francisco. And it has been incredible what has been showing up in time and spaces as a community. We have said yes to the idea of giving and receiving and showing up in a financial way. Because this is part of our practice. If you're struggling with your finances, you're in that rut. You're in that place where the things that you think you know are just locking you in to a pattern that isn't actually anywhere near what is possible in your life. And even if your finances are stable, you like that word, right? My finances are stable. Then perhaps what you're living into is the numbingness of it all. Don't want to upset the balance, because if I upset the balance, I could lose everything. There is nothing to lose in spirit. When we operate from that real awareness of who we are and why we're here, as we show up in generosity, as we show up giving to that which gives to us, all we do is become larger. All we do is become bigger. This is all part of that spiritual practice. So Charles Fillmore, the final quote I'm going to leave you with is, through the quickening of spirit, we are loosed. I love that. Loosed from all limiting ideas and set free in our realization of the absolute. Through the quickening of spirit, we are loosed from all limiting ideas and set free in our realization of the absolute. So that is what it means to be free in the spirit. It is to anchor ourselves in the absolute, in the realm of the absolute, in the realm of infinite possibility, and to know and to move and live and breathe and choose again and again and again from that field of infinite potentiality. We're never done. When I used to teach, I say this a lot. When I used to teach first grade, you know, you give them an assignment and they all be like, I'm done!
Yeah.
You don't get to be done here. This is life. This is your life. So as we say yes to being free in the spirit, we allow ourselves to truly let go of the ties that bind, to let go of the things that are holding us back, which really is just us. The only thing standing between you and that vision of your life is you. So what happens if you loose the limiting ideas? What happens if you allow yourself to experience something greater than your small idea of who and what and whose you are? And you can start with the granny shot. That's an easy one. That's the free throw. That's the one that you've already got. You don't even have to look for that one. And as you cultivate the awareness that Spirit is there, then you get to branch out even more. So that instead of that groove that that car was stuck in, it's just an open, expansive, multi-dimensional expression of life. So let's take all of this into meditation. Whatever's come up for you.